It's been 10 long years. 10 long years since I've seen my son Tyler. I refuse to reconnect with him because of what he did to me 10 years ago when he was 15. He comes up to me one day, knowing that his dad has been cheating on me, and he tells me that I'm crying too much, that his own father would tell me I would react this way. Guys, he knew that his father was having an affair for 4 months, saw me kiss him goodnight, never said a word to me and just held that secret. You know why? Because his father bought him an iPhone. And some people are saying, well, he was just a kid. No, he was 15. He knew right from wrong, so that's why. 10 years later, when he finally reaches out to me again after the divorce, I'm not going to talk to him. I'm not going to see him. I'm not going to speak to him, but he shows up at my work. And guys, you won't believe what he has to say. I'm 45 and I don't even know where to start. My hands shake as I type this word. I've written and deleted this probably 20 times because I keep second guessing myself, wondering if I'm the monster here. But I need someone, anyone, to tell me if I'm wrong because I feel like I'm drowning in guilt while simultaneously feeling like I finally did something right for once in my pathetic life. So 10 years. That's how long my son Tyler went without speaking to me. 10 years of silence, 10 years of me wondering what I did wrong. 10 years of therapy trying to convince myself it was not entirely my fault. And last week, out of nowhere, he messages me on Facebook saying he misses me and wants to meet. I should have been happy, right? I mean, what kind of mother does not immediately jump at the chance to reconnect with her kid? But when I saw the message, all I felt was dread. This cold, heavy dread that sits in my stomach like a stone. And now I hate myself for feeling that way because mothers are not supposed to feel dread when their children reach out. We're supposed to forgive everything, love unconditionally, and open our arms no matter what. But I couldn't. I just couldn't. Let me back up because I know this sounds insane without context. I had Tyler when I was 20, basically still a kid myself. Though I thought I was so mature at the time. His father, Kevin, came from money, real money, the kind where you never worry about bills and think of 2-week European vacations as roughing it. I was this naive girl from a working class family who thought I would hit the jackpot. Kevin swept me off my feet and promised me security, told me I'd never have to work if I didn't want to. And stupid me, I believed that was love. I became a stay-at-home mom immediately. Kevin insisted. Said his wife should not have to work, that taking care of our home and our son was the most important job. It sounded romantic at the time, but now I realize it was just another way to control me. To make sure I had no income, no professional connections, no identity outside of being Kevin's wife and Tyler's mom. But Tyler was my everything. Yeah, I know how pathetic that sounds now, but when you're 20 years old and suddenly responsible for a tiny human and have no other job, no real friends, because all your couple friends are your husband's friends, that baby becomes your entire world, your universe. I remember every detail about him as a little kid, the way he would run to me after preschool with his arms wide open, the crayon drawings of our family that he would make where I was always drawn biggest with a smile. The way he would crawl into our bed during thunderstorms and whisper, "You're my favorite, mommy." I lived for those moments. I built my entire identity around being Tyler's mom. Every soccer game, every school play, every scrape knee, every bedtime story. That was my world. I never imagined that the little boy who used to beg me for just one more story would grow into something capable of, well, what he became capable of. When Tyler turned 15, something changed. He got distant, secretive, always on the phone. I told myself it was normal teenage stuff. You know, boys pull away from their ma's, right? That's what everyone said. He'll come back around when he's older, they promised. It's just a phase. Guys, it wasn't a phase. The night I discovered Kevin's affair, I was looking for Tyler's report card in Kevin's home office. Kevin was at another late meeting. Gosh, how stupid am I? And I needed to sign some permission slip Tyler had forgotten to give me. Kevin's laptop was open and his Gmail was right there. I wasn't snooping, I swear. But there was an email preview on the screen from someone named Asia with the subject line, "Last night was incredible." with a kiss emoji. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely click on it, but I did. And then I clicked on another and another. 6 months worth of email chains between my husband and some 25-year-old from his company. Detailed emails, photos even. Plans for the weekend trip when he told me he was traveling for business. Oh, the ski trip. The father-son bonding ski trip to Aspen that I encouraged them to take because I thought Tyler needed quality time with his dad. Well, guess what? She went. She went on the trip while I stayed home like an idiot, thinking I was being a good wife by giving them space. So I threw up, right there on Kevin's Persian rug that cost more than most people's cars. And while I was on my hands and knees trying to clean it up and sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe, Tyler walked in. I'll never forget his face, not shocked, not surprised, just annoyed like I was inconveniencing him. I said, "You knew." It wasn't a question because I could see it in his eyes. "Oh, Dad said you would freak out about it." That's when I learned that my 15-year-old son had known about his father's affair for 3 months. 3 months of looking his mom in the eyes at dinner that I cooked. 3 months of letting me kiss him goodnight, and 3 months of watching me play the devoted wife and mother, while he knew I was living in a lie. I said, "Why? Why didn't you tell me?" You know what he said? This is burned into my brain forever. He said, "Dad got me an iPhone, and he's getting me a car for my birthday, plus Asia's pretty cool. She doesn't act all momish yet, like you." I think something in me actually broke in that moment. Not cracked, not bent, broke. The sound that came out of me wasn't even human. Tyler actually took a step back, and for 1 second I saw fear in his eyes. Good, I remember thinking. Feel something, feel anything, buddy. The divorce was... I don't even have the words. See, Kevin had the best lawyers money could buy. I got a lawyer from Legal Aid who was handling 40 other cases, and Kevin painted me as unstable, emotional, and vindictive. He had Tyler testify that he wanted to live with his dad. My own son sat in that courtroom and told a judge that I was suffocating and too emotional, and that his father's house was more stable. Okay, so before I continue, Tyler chose him. Let that be very crystal clear about that, because I spent years in therapy trying to convince myself it was Kevin's manipulation, and maybe it partly was. But Tyler chose him. He was 15, not 5. He knew what he was doing. When he looked at the judge and said he wanted to live with his father full time, he knew what he was doing when he wouldn't even make eye contact with me as I sobbed in the courtroom. The weekend visits never happened. I would drive to Kevin's house in this massive place in a gated community, and Tyler would refuse to come out. Kevin would shrug and say, "I can't force him." The phone calls went unanswered and the texts were left unread, and for his 16th birthday I sat outside his school with the present, just hoping to see him. To give him something, anything. He walked right past my car with his friends, laughing at something on his phone. Yeah, he saw me. I know he saw me, because one of his friends pointed at my car, but he just kept walking. So, when Tyler turned 18, I tried one more time. I thought maybe adulthood would bring clarity, maturity, something. I wrote him a letter. Poured my heart out, told him I loved him, that I would always love him, that my door was always open whenever he was ready. I even included a check for his birthday. Not much, because I was working retail by then and barely surviving, but something. He cashed the check, never responded to the letter. Well, that's when I finally gave up. And the shame of that, gosh, the shame of admitting that you're giving up on your own child, it ate me alive. But I couldn't keep putting myself through it. I couldn't keep showing up to be rejected over and over. I was living in a crappy one-bedroom apartment, working double shifts at Target, crying myself to sleep every night. Something had to give, or I was going to, well, I don't know. I mean it. I was going to pass away from the pain. Slowly, painfully, I rebuilt. I went to therapy twice a week. I could not afford it, but couldn't live without it. Support groups for divorced parents, yoga classes at the community center where I met other broken women trying to piece their life back together. It was bad. So 5 years ago, I met Patrick at a grief support group. His wife had passed away of cancer, and he was raising 2 daughters alone. Star was 13 and Tanya was 11 when we met. And they were so angry at the world, so hurt, but Patrick was this steady, calm presence, nothing like Kevin. He didn't love bomb me or promise me the world, he just showed up, consistently, reliably. He would bring me coffee during my breaks at work, and he would fix things in my apartment without being asked. He listened to me talk about Tyler without judgment, without trying to fix it, without telling me to just move on. When I met his daughters, I was terrified. What if they hated me? What if I wasn't enough? What if I was replacing their mom? But slowly, carefully, we built something. Not a replacement family. I learned that's not really possible. But something new. Something chosen. Star started asking me for advice about boys, and Tanya would crawl onto the couch next to me during movie nights, her head on my shoulder, and they never called me mom, and I never asked them to. But we became family in our own little way. So, 2 years ago at my age of 43, I got pregnant. Patrick and I had not been trying, honestly. I thought I was too old. The pregnancy was brutal. Gestational diabetes, 2 hospitalizations from bleeding. I nearly passed away during the delivery. It was an emergency C-section, massive hemorrhage, 3 blood transfusions. There was a moment when they were wheeling me into surgery when I thought about Tyler. Wondered if anybody would even tell him if I passed. Wondered if he would even care. Our daughter Jake, yes, it's a girl. Patrick's grandmother was named Jacob. Family tradition, it's weird. Anyways, survived. Thrived even. She's this fierce, funny little thing who looks exactly like Patrick but has my stubborn streak. And for the first time in years, I was happy. I had a husband who actually loved me, 2 stepdaughters who chose to include me in their lives, and a baby who would never have to choose between parents. Then last week, the Facebook message came. Hey, Mom, I miss you. Can we meet? That's it, 4 sentences that sent me into a complete spiral. I stared at it for an hour. Sure, I was hallucinating, right? Then I threw up. Apparently, that was my response to Tyler. Related trauma? Patrick found me on the bathroom floor, sobbing and shaking, and I could not even explain why, because how do you explain that your son wanting to see you feels like a threat? Everyone said I should go, and I mean everyone. Patrick, my parents, my therapist, everyone. They said, you need closure. You'll regret it if you don't. But I knew. Somehow deep in my gut, I knew this was not about reconciliation. I knew he wanted something. But I went anyways because I'm still, after everything, that stupid woman who hopes. We met at a public park. My insistence. Patrick stayed in the car nearby. Also, my insistence. I needed a witness. I needed an escape route. I needed to feel safe. And isn't this just messed up? That's my boy. That I needed protection from my own son. He looked like a stranger. Taller, broader, a beard? Kevin's face, but with my eyes. We hugged, if you can call it that. This stiff, awkward thing that felt like hugging a mannequin. We sat on a bench and I waited, and he stared at his phone, then at the playground, then at his shoes. He stared anywhere but at me. I asked him, how have you been? And he said, fine. You? I said, fine. Lies. It was all lies. 20 minutes of stilted small talk, 20 minutes of me trying not to cry, not to scream, not to beg, 20 minutes before he finally said why he was really there. I need money, Ma. There it was. That gut punch that I've been waiting for. How much? Ma, I need $20,000 for law school. I laughed out loud. Not because it was funny, but because what else do you do when your son, who hasn't spoken to you in a decade, asks for 20 grand, like he's asking to borrow $5 for a coffee? I don't have that kind of money, Tyler. Well, Dad said you remarried, that your husband has a very good business. And there it was, the real reason. Kevin was broke. I heard rumors, but didn't know for sure until Tyler explained it was a bad investment, something about a failed business venture mixed with crypto. And he had 3 more kids with Asia. The golden boy was out of gold. I can't give you $20,000, Tyler. Well, why not? The entitlement in his voice, gosh, it was Kevin all over again. Because I don't have it to give. And even if I did, Tyler, you haven't spoken to me in, 9 years? You abandoned me. You chose your father. You can't just show up now because you need a little bit of money. This is about Dad's affair, isn't it? Jesus, when are you going to let it go? Let it go? Get over it? My 15-year-old son knew his father was messing around with a younger woman and took bribes to keep quiet, but I should just get over it. It's not about the affair. It was about you choosing him. It was about you knowing for months and not telling me. It was about you taking his bribes and letting me live in a lie. It was about you abandoning me while I needed you the most. And then he said I was a kid. I said, you are 15. You were old enough to know right from wrong. You were old enough to take the iPhone and the car and the ski trips. You were old enough to testify against me in court. If this was World War II, you would have been old enough to go to war. You wanted me to live in some crappy apartment with you? Dad had a pool. Asia didn't cry all the time. She was fun. Oh, fun. The 24-year-old that was messing with a married man was fun. Why did you hate me so much? What did I ever do to you except love you? And you know what he said? This is what my son said to me. He said, you were embarrassing. After the divorce, you were just this sad, pathetic woman. Dad and Asia were happy. Their house was nice. My friends actually wanted to come over. What was I supposed to do? Spend weekends watching you cry in an apartment? I think I disassociated for a moment because suddenly Patrick was there, stepping between us, and Tyler was standing yelling about how I owed him, how I was ruining his future, and how I was such a bad mom who chose her own pride over her son's education. And that's when Patrick spoke up. She chose? And I've never heard his voice like this low and dangerous. She chose. You haven't spoken to her in 10 years, kid. You don't even know you have a sister. You don't even know she nearly died having that baby. You don't know anything about her life because you chose money over your own mother. And now that the money's dried up, gone, you want her to bankroll you. Get the away from my wife. Tyler called me a bitter you-know-what, said I would die alone, said he was better off without me anyways. He left, and I sat on that bench for an hour shaking. I wasn't crying, I was shaking. Patrick sat behind me and held my hand, and he didn't even say a word. I love my son. I do need you guys to understand that. Despite everything, I love him. I love the baby he was, the toddler who needed me, the little boy who thought I hung the moon. But the person is gone. If he ever really existed, and the man who showed up at the park isn't someone I can just let into my life. Not when I have Jake to protect. Not when I have Star and Tanya, who have worked so hard to trust another mother figure. Not when I finally found some place. But the guilt is eating me alive to this day. Am I a terrible mother for protecting myself? For refusing to be an ATM for someone who threw me away like garbage, and for admitting that my own son, is toxic to my mental health? I keep thinking about how he never once asked about my life. Never asked if I was happy. Never asked about meeting his sister. He doesn't know Patrick's name. He doesn't know I almost passed away. No, he doesn't care. He just wanted money, and when I could not give it to him, I became worthless again. People keep saying he was manipulated, that Kevin poisoned him against me, and maybe that's true to some extent. But Tyler made choices over and over for years. He chose wealth over love. He chose comfort over truth, and he chose the parent who could give him more stuff. Oh, and now he wants to fix the consequences of those choices. I can't. I won't. But does that make me the a-hole? Because I feel like one. I feel like the worst mother in the world for not jumping at the chance to reconnect. For not emptying my savings account, and for not forgetting 10 years of abandonment the moment he said he missed me. Other mothers would forgive, better mothers would try again, but I'm not a better mother. I'm just a broken woman who tried so hard to put herself back together. And I'm terrified that letting Tyler back in will shatter me all over again. And this time, I have Jake to think about. I can't be shattered. I can't afford to be that broken woman crying on the apartment floor anymore. So guys, I'm going to leave you with this. Am I the a-hole for choosing my peace and sanity over my son? For refusing to finance someone who discarded me? For admitting that sometimes love is not enough? I'm going to therapy tomorrow, but right now I just need someone, anyone, to tell me I'm not the monster that he says I am. Or if I am, at least tell me why and tell me the truth. I'm so tired of not knowing what's real anymore. Edit. Guys, I'm so sorry for the typos, or if this doesn't make sense in some places. I've been crying while writing this, and my hands won't stop shaking. I just needed to get it out somewhere before I exploded. Am I the a-hole? Please, tell me the truth. What an insane story. In my opinion, I wish OP the best of luck. However, there's two comments I want to review. One is against OP, and one supports OP, and just buckle your seatbelts for these comments because, man, they're pretty crazy. The first comment says, "You're the a-hole." And this is exactly why Tyler chose his dad. See, You're sitting here writing a novel about how you were hurt. But did you ever once consider what divorce does to a kid? He was 15. A literal child whose entire world just got uprooted. And you expect him to testify against his own dad? You blame him for taking a bribe, but you admitted yourself you had nothing to offer after the divorce except a crappy apartment and depression. Well, come on. What teenager wants to spend weekends watching their mother fall apart when they could have stability somewhere else? It doesn't make sense. You say you love him, but you gave up on him when he turned 18. What kind of mother gives up on their own kid? And now you went and remarried, had a new perfect family with Jake and your stepkids, and when your son finally reaches out after probably years of his own therapy and growth, you immediately assume the worst. He asked for help with education, not drugs or gambling. Education. And you're acting like he asked you to rob a bank. You had 10 years to get your life together, and you did what? I don't know. You did, but you won't give him the same grace to make mistakes and grow? You're punishing a 25-year-old for decisions he made as a traumatized 15-year-old kid. It doesn't make sense. No wonder he stayed away. You're still making everything about your pain. You're suffering, you're healing, while completely dismissing that he was a child caught between two parents. Do you not understand that? Well, he was bribed, he was manipulated, and probably guilt-tripped and emotionally dumped by you. This whole post reeks of self-pity and victim complex, and honestly, Tyler dodged a bullet staying with Kevin. I don't care what you think. Guys, that comment is seriously against OP. I would like to know your opinion on it. Now, I do understand he was 15 and he probably didn't want to testify against his dad. And yeah, a house with a pool is a lot better than a crappy apartment with a mom that cries all the time. But come on, it's your mom. Anyways, let's talk about it in our comment section down below. I love hearing your opinion on it. The second comment that we're going to review, this one actually supports OP. Okay, it says not the a-hole. And anyone saying otherwise has never experienced this level of betrayal from their own kid. So, this wasn't some innocent kid caught in crossfire. He was 15, old enough to know that taking bribes to hide an affair is wrong. Old enough to understand he was participating in his mother's humiliation. He literally admitted he chose wealth over his mom. Chose the fun stepmom over the woman who actually raised him. And could not be bothered to visit because her apartment wasn't nice enough. That's not trauma, that's cruelty. Then he has the absolute audacity to ghost her and just for 10 years, ignore every attempt at reconciliation, no Christmas, no birthdays, cash the birthday check without even saying thank you. Oh, and suddenly appears demanding $20,000? Are you out of your mind? Like she owes you something. Come on. The fact that he never asked about her life, never knew that she almost passed away, never cared that he has a sister, it tells you everything. He doesn't see her as a mother. He sees her as a potential ATM. See, she rebuilt her entire life from scratch, went through therapy and nearly passed away in childbirth and created a loving family with Patrick and the girls. Oh, and she's supposed to risk all that stability for someone who called her embarrassing and pathetic to her face. Oh, he accused her of being dramatic when she would not hand over 20 grand to someone who just, appears out of nowhere, who admitted he avoided her because of her sad energy. That's not a son. That's a narcissistic user. Tyler is learning what happens when you burn bridges for money and the money runs dry. Patrick was right to protect his wife from his emotional vampire, and OP would be insane to let this toxic person back into her life. Well, he could hurt her again. See, Jake and those two girls actually value her as a mother figure. Sometimes DNA doesn't mean crap when someone has proven repeatedly they'll destroy you for your own comfort. Guys, I'm not gonna lie, both of those comments do have good sense to them a little bit, but I have to side with not the a-hole. I mean, he was gone for 10 years. He didn't even say thank you for the Christmas cards, birthday cards. He didn't call her. He didn't care. And now he just shows up because he needs $20,000. I'm not buying it. I would like to know your opinion on this though, guys. If you can drop a comment down below in our comment section, that would be awesome. But if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe for daily stories. I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll see you again, and, well, just so you know, it's cool to be kind. Peace.